In April of 1964, Lee Iacocca's team at Ford put a two-door hardtop on stage at the New York World's Fair with a starting price of $2,368. Dealers took 22,000 orders the first day. In less than 2 years, Ford had built 1 million of them. 2.5 years after that debut, Chevrolet answered with a car it had designed for one job, beating the Mustang. And for the next 6 decades, the two of them went at each other, year after year, on every Ford and Chevy lot in America. People love to argue about which car was better, but there is one scoreboard that never argues back. It sits in the yearly sales charts and it has kept score since 1964. This is the story of that scoreboard, round by round, knockout by knockout, until only one car was left standing. If you had walked into a Ford dealership in the summer of 1964, you would have felt the heat. The Mustang was not a big engine monster. It was a Falcon underneath, a modest compact wearing a long hood and a short deck, and it caught the country completely off guard. Ford hoped to sell 100,000 in the first year. The public bought more than 400,000, the strongest launch the American car industry had seen since the Model A in 1927. The numbers only climbed from there. In 1965, Ford moved 559,000 Mustangs. In 1966, 607,000, still the best year the Mustang has ever had. Think about that for a second. 600,000 sporty coupes in a single model year from a car that did not exist 30 months earlier. Carroll Shelby saw the potential early. He took the 1965 Fastback, dropped in a modified 289 cubic inch V8 and created the GT350, a street-legal race car that proved the platform could handle far more than Ford's marketing department promised. 2 years later, the GT500 arrived with a 428 cubic inch Police Interceptor engine making 355 horsepower. Ford was not just selling volume, it was selling speed, and the aftermarket followed. Chevrolet watched all of this happen. In September of 1966, the bow tie struck back. The Camaro arrived as a 1967 model, built on a brand new F-body platform, with a wider palette of engines and a meaner stance than anything the Mustang was wearing. It was a serious counterpunch. The first year count came to more than 220,000 Camaros, an excellent launch by any measure except one. The Mustang sold 472,000 that same year, and that set the pattern for the entire first act of this fight. Every single year of the 1960s and deep into the 70s, the Mustang outsold the Camaro. 10 straight model years, the Challenger never once touched the champion. Chevrolet kept building better Camaros, the Z28 with its high-revving 302, and in 1969 the legendary ZL1 with an all-aluminum 427 big block that embarrassed Corvettes at the drag strip. But showroom traffic told a different story. Ford had a 3-year head start, and in the sales race, that head start was everything. But sales charts have short memories, and Chevrolet was about to win its first title in the strangest way possible. In October of 1973, the Arab oil embargo hit. Gas prices roughly quadrupled overnight, and big-engine American cars became expensive liabilities. Ford had a new Mustang ready that landed like a life raft. The Mustang II, smaller and based on the Pinto, launched for 1974 just as the crisis went critical. Purists hated it, a Mustang with no V8 available at launch, an 88 horsepower 4-cylinder engine under the hood. The buying public did not care. In 1974, Ford sold 386,000 Mustang IIs, more than double the Camaro's count that year. It even took Motor Trend's Car of the Year award. Timing, it turns out, is worth more than horsepower. But there was a catch. That Pinto connection aged badly. The gas tank controversy that haunted the Pinto haunted the Mustang II by association, and the car that had been exactly right for 1974 looked like a compromise by 1977. And then the tide turned, because the public got a long look at that Pinto connection and slowly walked away, while the second-generation Camaro kept getting better looking and better equipped. The Camaro's styling matured through the mid-70s, losing the bulky aluminum bumpers that had weighed down earlier models and gaining color-matched urethane fascias that made it look years younger than the Mustang II. By 1977, the belt changed hands for the first time. The Camaro outsold the Mustang by roughly 65,000 cars. In 1978, the gap stretched past 80,000, with 272,000 Camaros finding homes against a fading Mustang II. The Z28 package came back that year with a 350 cubic inch V8 making 185 horsepower, not muscle car numbers by 60 standards, but enough to make it the hottest American performance car you could buy new. The following year, 1979, was the Camaro's all-time peak, 282,000 cars. Chevrolet had its championship run exactly while Ford's Challenger was at its weakest, which, looking back, was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid timing on Ford's part. Probably both. The 1980s opened with a reset. In 1982, Chevrolet launched the third-generation Camaro, a radical lightweight wedge that finally ditched the decades-old chassis architecture. It was hundreds of pounds lighter, offered as a hatchback for the first time, and it took the sales lead from 1982 through 1985. The hot version wore a name that still means something, the IROC-Z, International Race of Champions, with tuned port injection pushing it past 200 horsepower, while the Mustang's 5-liter was still scratching out the low hundreds. That fuel injection system became a hot rodder's best friend because it was the most tunable and forgiving fuel delivery setup of its era. The base engine story was rougher. The entry-level 4-cylinder Camaro made 90 horsepower and needed around 20 seconds to reach 60 miles an hour, which made it one of the slowest sporty cars of the decade. But the Z cars carried the flag. Ford's counterattack in the 80s did not come from a showroom hero, it came from a police catalog. The California Highway Patrol needed a pursuit car and picked the Fox body Mustang 5.0, creating the Special Service Package, better known as the SSP. Roughly 15,000 of them were built between 1982 and 1993 for agencies all over the country. Some came with roll cages, some came with power windows. Ford's own advertising line for the car was, "This Ford chases Porsches for a living." And then the story gets genuinely strange. The United States Air Force had been using specially prepared El Caminos to chase U-2 spy planes down the runway at Beale Air Force Base, because landing a U-2 is so difficult that a second pilot drives behind the plane at more than 100 miles an hour, calling out wing position on the radio. In 1986, the Air Force tested a borrowed SSP against the El Camino. The Mustang won, and the Air Force ordered 20 of them. A pony car mentoring a spy plane onto the runway. That's the kind of detail that makes you realize how deep this car's reach went beyond the showroom. By decade's end, the sales lead had swung back to the Mustang for 1986 through 1990, and the 80s went to Ford on points. The 90s started evenly matched and ended in a knockout. Chevrolet's fourth-generation Camaro arrived in 1993 with the Corvette's LT1 V8 making 275 horsepower, followed in 1998 by the all-aluminum LS1, the same engine Chevrolet put in the C5 Corvette, pushing past 300. Some SS models got the LT4 at 330 horsepower. Ford's redesigned Mustang answered with a single overhead cam 4.6-liter that trailed the Chevy in power by more than 100 horses in some configurations. On paper, the Camaro was the stronger car for most of that decade. Ford created the Special Vehicle Team in 1993 to close the gap, and the SVT Cobra they built from the Fox body was a genuine effort, but it could not match what Chevrolet was putting on the street. The sales chart said something else entirely. While the Camaro posted its numbers, the market for affordable rear-wheel drive coupes was quietly collapsing underneath both of them. GM said so itself when it pulled the plug, blaming a 53% decline in the sports car market since 1990. On September 25, 2001, GM announced the 2002 model year would be the last for the Camaro and the Firebird. The Sainte-Thérèse plant in Quebec built the final F-bodies on August 27, 2002, just days before a federal head impact standard took effect that the old platform could not meet. More than 4 million Camaros had been built since 1967. The scoreboard now showed something it had never shown before, a year with no challenger at all. The Mustang was the only muscle-era nameplate left on the board, and for 8 years it competed against absolutely nothing. That empty ring is exactly what made the next round so electric. In 2005, Ford launched the retro-styled S197 Mustang, and buyers loved it, 160,000 in the first year. Ford's design chief called the look retrofuturism, and it worked because the car looked like the original Mustang without being a replica. Chevrolet had nothing, so when a yellow concept car with black stripes played the hero Bumblebee in the 2007 Transformers movie, 2 full years before the production car existed, an entire generation of kids memorized the shape of a Camaro before they could even buy one. You could show a non-car person a 5th generation Camaro and they would call it Bumblebee. That is marketing that money cannot buy. When the 5th generation Camaro finally hit showrooms in 2009 as a 2010 model, it did not just compete, it conquered. The manual transmission SS came with a 426 horsepower LS3 V8. For the first time since 1985, the Camaro outsold the Mustang for a full calendar year, then did it again and again. In 2011, its best sales year of the comeback, the margin reached almost 18,000 cars. For 5 straight calendar years, the Challenger held the belt. The Bumblebee generation had grown up and it voted. If you're enjoying this one, hit subscribe because this channel lives on these stories, the numbers behind the cars that built America. Then 2016 flipped everything again. Chevrolet launched the 6th generation Camaro on its Alpha platform, and by every measure that involves driving, it was a better car, sharper, lighter on its feet, genuinely world-class. Critics loved it. It did not matter. The Mustang had gone global the year before, with independent rear suspension and a right-hand drive version for export, and it reclaimed the title with 105,000 sales against the Camaro's 72,000, winning 10 of 12 months. Chevy's sharper tool never recovered the sales lead. The car that could out-handle the Mustang on a track could not outsell it in a showroom. By the early 20s, the one-time Mustang slayer was trailing the field it used to lead. On December 14, 2023, the last 6th generation Camaro, a manual transmission ZL1, rolled off the line at Lansing Grand River in Michigan. Chevrolet said the words every fan clings to, that this is not the end of Camaro's story. But as of today, the ring is quiet. So let's read the final scoreboard. Count the model years and the Mustang has outsold the Camaro more than 40 times in the 50+ years both cars have existed, by a margin of millions of cars. Count the championship runs and the Camaro owns 3 genuine dynasties, the late 70s, the mid-80s and the Bumblebee era of the early 2010s. The Mustang's 1966 season, 607,000 cars, remains the single greatest year either car ever had, a record that has stood for 60 years. And in August of 2018, Ford built its 10 millionth Mustang. The Camaro is on hiatus again, and the Mustang is the last pony car standing. The scoreboard's verdict is the same one the 60s delivered, with a few painful reminders for Dearborn along the way. Ford won the war. Chevy won some unforgettable rounds. And if you want to know which car is better, that still depends on which year you walked into the showroom. If you enjoyed 60 years of history in 15 minutes, subscribe for more stories from the golden age of American iron. I'll see you in the next one.